conversations are nothing, just a bunch of chaos. You can't have a structured approach to then figure out क्या निकलने वाला है इसमें से, which is what I really liked about this.
How it starts, no? Like you just have a conversation, you throw subject, like 5 लोग बोलेंगे, उसमें से two might find some relevant thoughts in it, and they will take it back from with them. Yeah, that's how it is. Like we just discussed at SDG 17. That is the most important thing to be done. Complement each other's work, work with the organizations, not just Sarkar, but also the non-government organizations and the communities that you're along working with. Picking up from there, let's start from beginning. That's how the structured approach of Mphasis is in terms of corporate social responsibility.
Right. So, sparing some thoughts on it.
Yeah.
At Mphasis, it's a tech company. It's a digital tech company. It's today's company. And the innovation bit is the key to it. This is the center of it. This is one industry which cannot just talk about innovation, but has to keep up with the changing times. And it's very rapid in the current scenario. So that's a little bit about organization. We're a software development company. On CSR front, also is about 1.5 years back when I joined, we were doing quite a few things, multiple streams. I personally believe any company, whether they make shoes, whether they make, aeroplanes, or they are a company like us, whatever work they're doing, it should resonate back to them, to the primary business that they hold.
Right. It should somehow be connected to that. Yeah.
Correct. So our CSR is also not far from it. So we have a two-pronged approach. These are two approaches, we call it. These are not thematic areas for us, but this is a lens that we wear to see a lot of grassroots developmental work that is happening. So these two approaches are categorically for us. One is, we call it tech-enabled social mobility. And the classic term of what social mobility is, when one person moves from one socioeconomic parameter indicator, moving to another one, which is always for a betterment. So we always understand that in terms of vertical movement or a horizontal movement in terms of social mobility, where a person achieves, feels a sense of change, whether in terms of poverty, whether in terms of education, whether in terms of livelihood skills, various, it's multidimensional, right? But for us, the going in is always tech-enabled. Is tech enabling that social mobility? And also the relevance is in the times that we exist in.
Can you give an example of one of the programs like that?
So one of the programs that we're doing is with a program that is focused on STEM for girls.
Okay.
Now, a lot of this is being done in the market, STEM related courses, STEM related skilling and all of that. We felt that's not the area we want to focus. What we want to do is impact a 10-year journey of a girl child. In effect, when a girl child comes into the formal education system, and systemically, girls are not encouraged to pursue, high intensity courses like engineering, although they prove everybody wrong. But the immediate, given the value system and the society construct that we have, they're not almost given that priority. They have to always prove it, to say that only if you're brilliant enough that you can pursue that. We just heard the example today, right? That it's not always the marks that indicate what you can land up being, but it's the exposure and the grit and the resilience that you have. So along with agency building, telling a girl child as early as primary and secondary to say that make a career in STEM. So we're influencing these girls that we are working with in two ways. First, our aim is to have them make conscious academic choices, higher studies academic choices into STEM related courses. So take up computer.
How does that happen?
So very early on, especially in the secondary bit, there's a lot of classroom engagement that happens,
right,
breaking the myth. So as I said,
it's like your partners or you are inside the classroom with the students, absolutely engaging with them.
And especially girls, we're just going after them. So breaking the myths around, education or STEM is not gender biased. And that is deeply rooted in the way unconsciously the thinking about the stream. So agency building is very critical for us. Then supplementing it with opportunities of creating projects, deliberating and giving an exposure to, as simple as something as, science Olympiad. So very, regular things, but when you put a structure to it, then you see the impact long.
So you're actually creating an environment of digital technology, science around them, and then they know they can do it and they should pursue it.
Absolutely.
It's as simple.
And not all of them will. But the exposure to science and technology is going to impact a large part of their life, because the era that they will get launched into will be much more high-tech and much more advanced than what you and I have experienced in our generation at a time, right? So I think that we are very conscious about. Let's prepare generation for the times that are coming ahead of us. So that's one approach of it. The other is we're working, of course, not with the same bunch of girls, but working with the ones who've passed out now from, let's say, engineering or computer sciences courses and all of them. There we are also finding a gap. Statistically, there are very few, you can count them on hand, entrepreneurs in STEM related businesses. Most of the founders, say fintech or health tech or edutech, you just pick up the names and you will, across you will find men leading the pack. Now that impact is also 10-15 years down the stream, right? So now we are working with girls who've passed out with a template to say that we'll pick up a job, we'll go to one of these big tech companies. But is that all that you want to test your waters with? So then we're also working with that crowd, which is now past their undergrad and degree, and now they're launched. And we're saying, can you have an idea already in that journey? Facilitate further. We can give you mentorship. We can give you a lab to test, space to experiment with, fail, and then finally we make you finance ready. We can make you your startup ready.
It's basically hand-holding a woman entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Who's got an idea from ideation stage to be able to reach the angel stage. Yeah. You're like hand-holding them and actually preparing them.
And again, Ranjan, the beauty is in both these spectrums, the girls who are in the formal education system and the girls who've passed out, through a formal engineering or a computer science background, the mindset is the biggest challenge.
Correct. Yeah.
It's also, for us, as we talk about in a very generic manner, what is breaking the silo of poverty or the intergenerational poverty, there's also poverty of mind and time.
It's primarily that, I think. No, once you break the cycle of thought that I am poor and I'm going to be out of this cycle, you can.
And more than often in my experience, poverty is not money. Poverty is time. There's poverty of time, because that person assesses her skill set basis, I have only limited time, I must start earning, I must start getting a job.
True.
Would you want to invest time to be an entrepreneur and be a game changer? And for all women will work out solutions, technology-led solution for women. And that in itself will be a great breaking of barrier.
I'll need an example here to give me one example of a startup or a girl who been an entrepreneur from out of this program.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Since we're already going through this program, so I'll give you a live example. There's a girl who's tested out a headgear, which is primarily an absolute game changer for girls who are also predominantly statistically known to have migraine.
Okay.
Correct. Now, the numbers tell the tale, right? And I may be questioned for this statement, but largely, if even in your informal, in your conversation within your friends and family, who do you find maximum with a headache or a migraine?
In my case, it has to be me, because I live with so many women.
Yeah, that's a different way of looking at it. So generalizing again, saying that a woman has come up with a headgear which sends certain frequencies, maps it, finds the trigger points, what's triggering what.
Surely has a commercial value.
Absolutely. And it's extremely tech-led. So those are the things. I'm giving you one example, which is again matching my statement on saying that women-led initiatives or entrepreneurs will find better relevant solutions for the larger community or the gender that we talk about, and make it more inclusive. And the second approach that we have for the lack of creativity, we call it environmental sustainability. So the first one is tech-enabled social mobility, and the other is environmental sustainability. And in this, we wear this hat of, while companies have ESG goals, ESG is always internal footprint that you have in an environment. And one must acknowledge ESG is a very internal matter of any organization. But what we are trying to achieve is what we can make better outside our organization. So that's out in the grassroots level, out where the damage is done. and can we do our bit into, recouping the environment, into conserving the environment, into preserving it, and as much as contribute back by giving it back. So we have initiatives which are ranging from mangrove rewilding. We have initiatives which are mangrove rewilding. We are doing it near Chennai. There is a place called Pulikat. Pulikat Lake is a very famous lake out there. There's a whole belt where these mangroves have, very instrumental in managing the tsunami that had happened a decade back, and that sort of kept that entire coastal belt safe. Today is at the verge of completely getting wasted and it's out. So we are rewilding. The term here safely is used, rewilding.
Rewilding.
So we are in a nursery growing mangroves, which is technically not possible because this is Mother Nature's most amazing
saplings planted.
Exactly.
You take the saplings there and then to replant them. Yeah.
So we were calling rewilding because mangroves are supposed to be largely and not man.
My friends who have worked in Sundarban, so we're trying to revive that. So I don't know how it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing that. We are doing afforestation along with the government of Karnataka, the horticulture department. We have adopted a piece of land and we've planted over 100,000 saplings of various flora and fauna of indigenous nature.
Nice. Yeah.
The amazing part is, in the parallel track of while we are doing afforestation, we see local community getting livelihood and getting excited to contribute the time, energy, effort, thereby also earning.
But you have to take ownership.
Ownership. They have the local expertise. They know the land, they know the soil, they know the terrain. One. The other one, the horticulture department made us notice that almost 50 plus bird species have come back to that catchment area. And some of these birds were notified extinct, at least believed to be. And they were seen in this flourishing area. The other very interesting initiative, it's no secret that Bangalore water tables are really bad. It's all rocky beds. And every summer there is some challenge with the other. So along with the police department, we are trying to create something called as percolation well. So these are about,
percolation bed.
Wells.
Oh.
So the idea is to recharge the first level of water, that is aquifers. So these about 6 to 10 or maybe more feet down below the ground level. And there is a very indigenous knowledge that we've used it. There's a local community which are well diggers in Karnataka. I think they're called Kodavs or Kodvas or something.
Kodva.
Something like that. I may be getting the name wrong.
Because when we were doing the awards, I remember talking to some of these people. They have created an NGO around that to getting those people to get it.
So we identified that there's a community and their skill set was getting rusted because now nobody creates wells. So we found them, we got them part of this program. They revived the well. They are getting the economy in terms of they're getting economic benefits now, and they're the custodians. So they become automatic custodians, and now they're working very closely with the police department. And now look at the other parallel impact that it has had. This community, because it's so tribal in nature, they were doing menial jobs, daily wages job. So you know how police and law enforcement looks at that certain section of community. They've built an extremely great rapport with police people, and they're
they're the custodians of their water, is fine.
Exactly. And police and we are putting these wells across all the training grounds in Bangalore, police training grounds. And there are a couple of botanical gardens that we are putting these wells, very strategic location.
Sumit, where is the tech part in this program? And the environmental sustainability.
And I knew that you would come to it. I'm glad you came to it. So for us, environmental sustainability, as much as it is the ground level work, is a grassroots level work, but we are very clear on measuring two aspects of it. One, the carbon sequestration that is happening, and the oxygen generation that is happening. And we are very clear. So here is where we are using technology. Our partners who are implementing these programs have put technology, have put trackers. They use LiDAR and radar technology to map. We also do one more project which I did not tell you about. We do lake rejuvenation. So entire lake is adopted, and the lake is not just the cleaning process, not just reviving.
You also look at the carbon sink.
Exactly. And also activating the entire community around. How do you do that? You work with the local municipal corporation, you beautify the place, you make people take ownership of that place. because these places were used as dump yards, and debris was thrown, and sewage water is somehow coming in through. So those challenges also have to be worked out. So there is about 4 or 5 things that we are doing in environmental sustainability. And again, technology plays a very heavy role here, not just at the time of execution, but at the time of seeing it, how the measuring, the KPIs, the results are showing up. Because they're very keen on seeing that are we actually be able to make that sort of impact and track that journey. So that's where technology. Although when we talk about environmental sustainability, we want to keep it as pure as possible. And I'm not saying that technology spoils it, but we don't want to put too heaviness on technology here because it's very visible.
Visible.
Exactly. And the results are like out there. You can feel it in the flora, fauna, in the community activation, in the ownership, in the entire ecosystem getting revived.
Right.
And it shows on people's overall. It's very difficult to measure happiness index, but when you see a bunch of people start using that lake area for their morning jogs, where you see old couples come and sit, where you see someone maybe in stress coming and spending some time there, you know that you're doing the right thing. You're helping some people connect back with the nature. And that's what we're up to.
Interesting. Now that you mentioned happiness index, now I feel like asking you, how are the happiness index of the CSR guy in this space?
Well, you know what? I think CSR is a very interesting role. It's one role where you can't say that you know CSR and that's about it. You are a nodal person, a center point, which connects into multiple functions of your organization.
Correct.
And that's how any function in any organization is. They're all interconnected. Now, your role, your job is primarily being an expert of what you do. But before that, you have to be an excellent influencer. I always say this.
Within the organization.
Within the organization. I think you can't just take your head knowledge and talk to your board or talk to your peers or talk to your juniors. It just cannot happen. You win people, you win conversations, and you win ideas only by building that camaraderie.
True.
For this, you need to be an amazing influencer. Absolute heart and head at the same time. You can't just all be heart and no head, and you can't be all head and no heart. There's a good balance that you have to strike. So yes, happiness index is highly questionable, but
so where have you been able to strike the balance better? RBL Bank?
Well, every organization has its own taste. I've had its own journey. I've had some amazing time. Of course, then what follows after amazing time is challenging time, and then what follows after is amazing time.
So this is what pays?
Amazing time.
Cool, great. Any message, anything that you have for the fraternity, for CSR domain, for the social sector?
I think for CSR folks, I would say, we all hold jobs here. That's one thing that we must acknowledge, ascertain. We are not omniscient, omnipresent, omnipowerful in terms of what we know. Time and again, we are put into job situations where we are supposed to know 5 things, where you may just be experienced in one. At this point, my message to the CSR fraternity would be to humbly acknowledge expert. If you're working with partner organizations, if you're working with non-profits, if you're working with socially relevant organization, they are the experts.
They know
their business. So what really helps a CSR professional is the ability and keenness to acknowledge that and practice it. I think that would be my humble message to the entire gamut of CSR professionals that we have currently out there.
Perfect gamut of CSR professionals. There are so many of them, and there are so many new of them coming in. Thank you so much.